Welcome back, and you are seeing this right to whoever is commenting this every other video. You've been so original that I've actually caved in and started to wonder if I should actually fly this thing out again. Here we are, flying it out again, just to tell you that, well, I kind of regret it. No, the Yak-9P is not horrible. It's not the best either. In terms of yaks, it's one of the worst variants that you can fly out. It's no bad by any means. But if you compare it directly to something like the Yak-9U, which is of course very good, but it's also at a lower BR, it is just kind of worse across the board. And it's mainly because of the weight that this thing has, together with the fact that it carries more fuel as well. This comes down to about 250 kilograms in total. And this doesn't sound like much, and I understand that. The thing is, the empty weight of these yaks is only 2.5 tons. And to be specific, 2637 kilogram versus 2840 kilogram. So that's just under 10% of weight that just doesn't need to be there. And because the yaks are notorious for being very maneuverable and missing stalling out F8 with a 37mm at 200 meters, sounds awfully specific, but trust me, it's just very good at it. Having more weight is quite a detriment. This thing is a lot quicker. It rips at about 750 IES, which is a lot more lenient when it comes to, say, something like the Yak Tree, which is even better than this thing in basically every regard other than the rip speed. And this thing also overheats a little bit quicker than the Yak-9U, because the actual overheat threshold is 2 degrees lower. 105 degrees Celsius instead of 107. And this again doesn't sound like much, but all these things added up really just make for kind of a mediocre Yak-9P. Very quickly summarized, it's a Yak-9U with more gun and 10% extra weight. It also overheats a little bit quicker, and we know if you have flown the Yak-9U that it overheats quite substantially. Sure, it's manageable with Mac, but not everyone uses Mac, and not everyone can be bothered to use Mac. I use it sometimes here and there, it just depends on my mood. At this point of time, I haven't played this game in about 2 weeks. I really couldn't be asked to fly it. Anything in this game. I've been having exams, I've been very busy, which is also why my schedule has been completely messed up. And then you also have the depressed episode of every War Thunder player that you go through every 4 to 6 months, and you just don't feel like playing anything. Nothing seems fun to you, then you leave for about 2 weeks, and then the addiction starts kicking in, the abusive relationship, you know, you kind of start missing it, you come back, and then you're addicted for another half year. You repeat this until you die, or until Gaijin shuts the servers off. But enough of that, let's look at this game. Behind us there is a Wyvern, and I noticed that he was occupied with the Yak Tree on its 6. And I know that this guy is going to be extremely annoying because he instantly disengages and starts to run away, which is what you have to do. But a properly flown Wyvern is one of those vehicles that you just don't want to deal with in basically any prop. It goes 650 in a straight line. Do you want to deal with a prop like that? If you can go 650 in a straight line? If he is only paying attention to you, definitely not. If you're trying to furball and a Wyvern is just running around you doing nothing but boom and zooming, which is of course what he has to do, it basically makes your game impossible, because you need a lot of resources, and with resources I mean time, speed and altitude, or shortly energy, to actually deal with them. And then even then, if they are paying attention and if they are playing it correctly, you can't even cut them off, so they are just gonna be running away yet again. Very annoying to deal with. I saw my opportunity and I took it. Now, however, I'm at a disadvantage against the 5 people that just got spotted. So now we have to deal with that. Also, this is the first game I did in this vehicle. I'm enough of a nerd to use manual engine controls, but at the same time I'm not enough of a nerd to actually learn about any of the settings. So what do? I go to the cockpit, I look at the boost meter, and then I switch the gearing. I switch my modes, and then if the mode switch makes the gear switch, then it means that I'm in the wrong gear. So now I know the gear switch is actually above 3000 meters. So I'm gonna guess 2000 or 2500 and then hope that's correct. I repeat that process until I actually see the gear switch live in the, I don't know what it's called, non-manual engine control. Automatic engine control. Well, that's very hard, isn't it? So yeah, that's how I figure that stuff out. We are looking around, 109 below us, and he is very much interested in taking the shot, but there's also a P-51 above us, and I don't really want to fly into his guns. I can go for the 109, keep looking at the P-51. The P-51 breaks off for a millisecond, so I have the ability to go back to the 109 and shoot him out of the air. The P-51 now comes back, I just kind of dodge his guns, but he doesn't actually continue to go for us. So now I will stick this fight. Who do I go for here? Because I'm stuck in a raid fight with the 190, but the P51 is also going to pull into our guns. He's going to go head on. I'm in somewhat of an advantage, but also a disadvantage, because he has a volume of fire, and 1 or 2 rounds can of course set me on fire, and that's not something I am potentially looking at. The P51 breaks off. I'm not going to be chasing him, because the rest of the enemy team is flying into us right now. I use some of my speed to actually dodge the 190. He hits one of his MGs, and it's just an absolute mess. My 2-week on vacation brain couldn't handle this whatsoever. But I just want to make sure that I keep turning and I don't turn in front of someone. Yes, I turned in front of the 190, but I took a little bit of a gamble because he is looking at someone, and it's the same as with that vampire video that I did where I got an ace in like 40 seconds. Some planes, that if they start shooting, they are not going to be paying attention to anything else. The 190 and the F80A are 2 of the best examples for that. So I see the 190 shooting, I know that I gave my ass to him, and if he had switched direction, the game would have been over for me right there. But I mean, if I had gone for him and tried to contest him, then those 3 guys would have definitely mopped me up. So I'm not looking forward to that. And together with the fact that I'm having a little bit of an off day, my brain is still on vacation mode, I also just don't have any trust in this vehicle to win that kind of engagement. We have a Yak Tree, the French Yak Tree, and you can ask Glitch how much that costs. We have a 190, and we have a 109 F4. And I just do not trust this vehicle to handle that kind of an engagement, even if I'm having a good day. So if I'm having a bad day, no trust in the vehicle, I am not going to be taking that fight. So I break off, I let my friendlies engage a little bit, and then I come back in and I start engaging the people that I think need to die the hardest. Yak Tree definitely takes the prime spot. And then luckily for us, he also makes himself a prime target by breaking off, separating himself, and setting himself up for disaster by, well, leaving his teammates, going off on his own adventure. We take the Yak Tree down, double whammy, most dangerous vehicle, also in the easiest to kill position. No brainer at all. 109 comes in for the head-on, we break off, we have enough energy, and then we switch on over to the G2 Trop. We crit his wingtip. He is not gonna have fun with that, especially on the deck. And then we put it into a slide spiral and then into a horizontal, because we have just all the energy in the world to deal with this engagement. And I will focus on the G2 here, because the 190 is already crit by us from a little while ago. The F4 has a guy riding his ass and just went to go for a swim. And the 109 had a lot of energy still. He still had the ability to just run back to the base if he didn't contest him. And I just don't want that to happen. I want to kill these people before they can do so. And yes, when I say energy, I mean energy. I heard a guy the other day that said that when I say energy, very often, I mean speed. But if someone has a lot of speed but no altitude, he doesn't have that much energy. If someone has a lot of altitude but he's going very slowly, sure, he has a lot of energy, but if he's not in a position to use it, I would just say he has a lot of altitude. So for the people that are confused by this, if I say speed, I mean speed. If I say altitude, I mean altitude. And if I mean a combination of both, which it is 90% of the time, then, well, I say energy. And for some people really like me hearing saying energy, so I'll say energy one more time. The Dornier 217. You saw me go head on with him, and I wasn't entirely sure if it was the variant that had an absolute boatload of 20mm in the nose. And yes, I say boatload for a reason, because it absolutely handles like one. So I wasn't really feeling the head on with 420mm, and now we're gonna try to snipe him with a 37. First shot misses, second shot is way too low because he changes his direction, and then the third shot luckily connects. The issue is it's only a crit, because, well, guess what, it's a German bomber or strike bomber or whatever you want to call it. The damage model is gonna be pretty hefty. The tickets are about to time out, and I just want to get this extra kill. No real reason, but luckily we get it. Thank you, Lolak, excellent indeed. Game number 1, or at least actual fight number 1. And here we have another fight with a 109 G2 Trop. And excuse my aim in this fight, but I think it portrays the plane quite well. We are still more maneuverable than something like a G2 Trop. The G2 Trop will have better power to weight at this altitude, but we're just gonna make sure that the power to weight isn't gonna be much of a detriment. So I'm gonna keep my speed for now. I wanna make sure that he doesn't drain my balls completely and then uses a Yak 3000 on us. So I wanna make sure that I know what kind of fight this guy is playing. If I notice him drop throttle, I'm gonna play energy. If I notice him play energy, I'm gonna drop my throttle a little bit. Because I want to make sure that I reverse these turns as quickly as we do. I cut throttle, I instantly get behind him. And now I just want to predict where he goes. Because I want to make sure that I am on his 6 when he tries to dive out. Because that's the only option he has at this point. And if he doesn't do it, he dies anyway. So it doesn't really matter what I do. And if he does dive out, then well, I predicted his flight path. I slotted in on his 6 perfectly. And I can't aim. So in the end, it doesn't really matter, but here is an example for you guys, because well, at least I get to show you now, because I missed all my shots. It doesn't matter if your rip speed is higher, if my straight line speed is higher, and we have a shitload of altitude. Because I can just cruise on your 6, kind of ignore the rip warning, until you go slower than my rip speed, and I can just straight line behind you. Because look at this, I'm now just catching it. This is the argument that I use against, well, a lot of vehicles that can potentially kill the Yak Tree U. They say, just dive away. Just outrun him. And then what? Very often, well, not very often, with some planes, sure, the rip speed can be annoying, especially in the team fight. But if it's a one-on-one and the guy is committed, or it doesn't have a good reason to break off, that rip speed is gonna mean absolute jack squat unless he runs to the airfield like Haj77 in his Italian 109F. Thank you for pulling up the battle lore. And you can do this, by the way, little tip, if someone has a kill or a crit or basically done anything that puts you in the kill feed. Crits also do this. You can also check if people are crit this way. It says what variant they are. You can also download a language pack. But if I download a language pack, then every video people are gonna ask, how do I do that? And I just can't be bothered. Yes, sounds very selfish, but I also just can't be bothered to install it. So we let the 109 dive on us, because he has been camping the base for a little bit. We give him basically every advantage, and the 109F4 will definitely hold with us in the dogfight. That thing is very, very strong. It will hold with a Yak Tree. The Yak Tree will win, but it's not too far off. This thing, however, will definitely lose. I give him every advantage, I give him the energy and the position, still runs back to the airfield. So what do? We run away again, we run further from the airfield, we go under him, and instead of trying to reverse him, we're just gonna predict in what direction he is gonna fly. And look at that, it works out wonderfully, because quite frankly, this is like buying a bag of nacho cheese flavor Doritos, and then wondering what kind of flavor there is gonna be when you take a bite. And for the people that aren't aware, yes, it does indeed taste like nacho cheese. And if you didn't know, then you are probably this guy that's about to be defecated all over on the internet. And for the people that care, exams are about 50% over. Should be back pretty soon. I'm just happy to be kinda happy that I'm back again. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.